Okay, should we actually start for real?
Yeah.
Let's
Why
do
not?
it.
Okay,
not?
I'll do a cheesy little intro. All right. Hello and welcome to the Walking Dead Definitive Series developers commentary. Did you say "oh" in the
Wait,
middle
my,
of
my microphone's not on, or I don't hear
Damn it.
anything. Sorry.
Damn
Because I
it.
switched out packs.
I
Sorry.
just
Do you hear anything?
just turn it up.
Yeah,
Just turn it up. There you
Oh,
go.
now it's on.
Oh, it
Okay,
sounds
cool.
good. doesn't
He's
it?
a story
Is
guy.
that better?
He's a story
Sorry,
guy.
okay, cool.
Okay, take 7.
Okay, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Walking Dead Definitive Series developers commentary track. I think there's enough words in that title. My name is Kent Mutil. I am creative director of the final season and a cinematic artist on this season. And I am joined by an all-star cast of other developers who also worked on the season, and they are, in sequence,
Dennis Lenart. I was a director and, head of cinematic department and been at Telltale forever.
OG.
Really, truly. I am Melissa Hutchison, and I am the voice of Clementine.
And I'm Dave Fenoy, and I am not a developer, but I am the voice of Lee Everett.
And I'm Julian Kwasniewski, and I did the voice direction and involved in casting and babysitting the talent.
Which is a task.
I'm so glad someone did that.
And I worked in what became known as the fun office.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
Oh, boy.
Studio
Oh, boy.
Joy.
Studio
Except
Joy
for
was
a
the fun
couple
office.
specific days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to play through the first episode of the first season and just talk about memories of making it as we go. So
What if we can't remember that far back?
I know,
I'm
right?
just kidding.
make up stuff. No one will know the difference.
Just correct
It
me.
was a long time ago.
Before we start, I just want to give a shout out to Sean Vanneman, Jake Rodkin.
Yeah.
Yes.
We wish could be here but couldn't, and we'll try to talk about as much stuff as we remember
Who are they now?
to get them. Yeah, they were only the leads on this season. But yeah, we would definitely wouldn't be here without them, and
Yes.
they made a lot of amazing decisions that we got to work with on the rest of the season. So.
Amen. Hallelujah.
Here, here. They make good video games. All right,
Yes.
let's start. But this is also a good video game.
100 Game of the Year awards.
Over.
That's true. More Game
I
of the Year
believe.
awards than it seems possible.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Just inventing companies to
Sean
give
will
awards.
remember this.
And so begins.
Hey, we're in the Skybound offices right now. Look at that.
What?
Yep.
This has come real full circle.
Seriously.
So all the episode titles, or the title card of The Walking Dead, I remember having different colors, which was a Jake thing planned out from the beginning. Random detail that I didn't know when I was working on episode 2, and I changed the color, and then he came to me and went, "Why are you
Oh, that's
not doing
awesome.
the thing we're supposed to do?" I was like, "Oh, whoops."
There he is.
That's good.
Wow. There he is.
There's Sean Vanneman.
Hey.
Sean Vanneman.
Yay! Hey, Jake, Sean.
I like Sean's Vanneman. Hey, there's Mark Barbalak.
Oh yeah.
Who's also the legal counsel
Yes,
for
the
Telltale.
attorney for Telltale Games.
This the rearview mirror shot weirdly was like the most complicated technical thing we'd ever done in the Telltale engine at the time.
Isn't there like an entire second lead just sitting outside the side of the car when we see the shots of him reflected in the window?
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
With just like a render constant alpha low or something. Yeah. But I remember hearing the pitch for this and thinking that starting in the back of a cop car on your way to jail was a pretty awesome setting for for starting a game, and immediately people just getting invested in wanting to figure out
What's
what's
going
happening.
on? Yeah.
Who is this guy?
I love all
what's
the little
past?
things you see out the window, too.
Yeah, this is a good looping.
I feel like that
title
was the
set.
station wagon that the stranger has in episode 2 that
Oh,
we just
that's
passed.
cool.
Yeah.
It's probably just a reuse of we needed car models at the time.
I think we added him in the collection version.
He's
One version of this,
passing
I
in the
think he was
wrong
put
lane.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure from
That's
a
awesome.
design standpoint, the idea of starting really limited for people in you just get control over the camera to sort of get comfortable with moving it around before you're actually in free walks and having to navigate in space as well. Yep. I think Eric Parsons worked on all of this stuff for
Yeah.
a long time. Typically at Telltale, the first scenes of any game go under extreme amounts of scrutiny. So
That's me on the radio.
Was that you?
Yeah.
You're
I'm,
all over
I'm
the
the
place.
answering machine. I'm the radio. I take
Yeah.
the big gigs.
There are
Yeah.
no small parts,
There
only
aren't.
small
That's
actors.
right.
Man, I got paid a lot for that, too.
He's got a bit of his
we
own
know that.
agency as a character. He's not totally just the player.
You know what I remember is doing this first episode. 20 minutes in, I was like, "Wow, this is really good. These this is just good writing.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
I was really happy that I got this gig.
As we
I think
we
we all are really
Yeah,
happy that
definitely.
you
Yeah.
got this
And what
gig.
was great is those were the days when
very
we
mutual.
we flew them up, and so Dave would stay in Fairfax at the inn.
At the one hotel.
and you introduced me to all your radio buddies, like Dave Padilla.
Oh, Dave Padilla.
We partied with Dave.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. When
kinda
I was
aw-
on the radio on KSOL in the Bay Area in the 80s, Dave was my news guy.
That's so funny. He still, I hear him all the time.
Oh, yeah. KCBS.
It's good.
There you go.
And you can't just say man. You really got to get that feeling. Man.
Achieved. You achieved.
Some of your finest acting work.
I definitely remember excitement around the office when there was a big search to find a Lee character, and it was a long, hard journey. And then I remember as soon as, oh god, now everything's coming off the rails.
Oh,
I can just keep going.
look out.
As
Help.
soon as we heard your voice and audition, everybody, it was just like the whole office was like, all right, cool, cast, done.
That's
Like, and it was like
him.
amazing moment.
Well, we found Dave because he played a character in a Law and Order game, right?
Yeah.
We played
Right.
Montrose.
Montrose.
I was
A
a
villainous
I was
self-help
a
guru.
crooked politician.
Yep.
Well, and then also with Melissa as well, I remember in the early days, like Sean talking about how like nothing will work in this game if we don't have a good Clementine, and that was like the
Exactly.
big worry.
so
It was just
true.
like there's got to be someone to balance out like the strength that Dave brings for
Well-
his performance, and like obviously just having someone who can really embody that character and make her not feel like the typical video game kid, which all other video game
Right.
like children were till that
Weren't
time.
you guys also auditioning
Well, I was
actual
going to say we
children?
did that. Yeah, and I have a bunch of them that I listen to, and they're all kids, but they could never have the
Emotional range.
gravity that
Yeah.
you
It's a pretty
that you needed some
heavy
wisdom
game.
in
Yeah.
there.
yeah,
It gets heavy.
This is a kid that goes through a lot.
Well, and also just the aging over the seasons.
Right.
You know,
Which wasn't known that
Like-
would happen, actually.
Yeah.
I don't
but
think that
just
was the
imagine
intention
if a kid had
going
you
into
know
season one.
gone off to college or something, and wait, we need you in this game.
Right.
So
yeah.
Yeah, I know. You can't go to college.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather personally voice acting college. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
I mean,
choose
come
voice
on.
acting, but that's just me, and that's what I did.
Well, and I think
Boom, that's my story.
on a developer side too, Sean and Jake from like the very early days always sort of talked to the team about, treat Clementine as an adult. Like
Yeah.
think of her as that as opposed to a kid when you're making choices. And it definitely was a thing that made all the difference in the world because people
Right.
immediately throw out all the tropes you think and then like really sort of get your head into the character when you're sort of doing animation stuff or putting together the cinematics and
Well, and what you're speaking on as far as the children, you really see that, especially when she's reflecting in scenes with Duck. 'Cause
Yes,
Duck
totally.
is that kid that
Absolutely.
if
Yeah.
he was the kid that
I'm gonna
Lee
drive the
found, it would be like,
tractor.
this, yeah.
Yep.
Okie dokie, Duck.
this is a great. I
Yeah.
love this whole scene.
It's such a good horror setup.
Yeah, it's
Here, let me go help this this cop that was driving. He looks injured.
You know what's interesting about this, and Dennis and Kent, I might be totally wrong,
It's a
but
cop.
not too many people at Telltale were actually watching, and here I am sitting in Skybound. We're not. This is like really, really. There wasn't like hardcore like, oh, I watched the show.
I know,
every
and we
week.
were-
It was
we would
all
we were
comic
watching it.
book.
Hadn't the show
Yeah.
just started?
It was
Yep.
like
Like
going
around
into
the time
the
this game
second
coming out?
season because
wasn't
I
it-
was a fan of the show.
yeah,
The show had been on how many seasons?
I think it was going either finishing second season or going into the second season.
yeah. And it was great. Like I was watching it. I actually only meant to watch a few episodes to like get. We were still doing sound at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and just to see how they did the ambiances and what the zombies sound like, and then I got hooked on it.
Right. Yeah, I did too.
Yeah, I was watching it, but not a lot. But it was a show that I was sampling because everybody was, oh, well, you got to watch the
Yeah,
Walking
yeah.
Dead."
Right. No, it was.
And then I really did when this audition came up.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And I remember episode 1 or 2, Rolling Stone magazine came out and said the game is better than the TV show.
yeah, I remember.
Drop your mic. Just knock
Yeah.
it over right now. Boom.
Then there's something I want to ask about here. I remember this part being. I remember at one point the entire game was first person,
Yeah, so
and there was some kind of somewhat kind of late change.
one of the things that's relevant to bring up is one of the early sort of conceits of the game, where I remember Sean and Jake talking a lot about how like players never care about their character dying because they're going to come back in 20 seconds after the load
Right.
screen. But investing in time in other characters to make it seem like they could die at any time was sort of like the big twist of what made this game really interesting.
And
is
it
'cause
was,
you're always,
I think it's what people really got invested in these characters more than I'd ever seen on
For sure.
anything yet.
It's funny because when we would go to, and it still happens, to go to conventions, and we were able to do some together, what people would say is, I've never cared about characters in a video game before.
Right.
And then you and Clementine
Oh yeah.
made me cry.
I saw you. We were at what was it, Dragon Con Atlanta. You were talking to someone, and someone was coming up to our line, and he just heard your voice. And this is a grown man, and he stood there, and he just started to like tears out of his eyes, cry.
That's because I
Just
owed him
hearing-
money.
But no, it's to see this effect. It's. I mean, people share like the craziest
Yeah.
stories of how this game has taken them through like the
Yeah.
shittiest of times, or they've met their best friends, or tra la la. Like so many like
I've
crazy
met,
stories.
I've met people who didn't have a dad that said Lee became their surrogate father.
That is
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've cried. I've cried at conventions.
Yeah.
I've reached points where people tell me things that
Yeah.
I'm just it's overwhelmingly moving.
I remember you both and a couple other people saying that too, that when you experienced that, it was really surreal at first
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, as far as working with Telltale, because I go way back with Telltale games,
Yeah.
and most of the characters I've played have all been comedy
Mm-hmm.
too. So this was the first, well, not even with Telltale. This is the first game I worked on where there's just so much emotional depth and story. And Hashtag,
I had
thank
been
you,
on I had
Telltale.
been on a bunch of games, but this was clearly the best script that I had done, and it had the most interaction with other characters, and just
Well, and this will probably be a great time to mention, and not just because you're in the room, Julian, but I mean, beyond The Walking Dead, any game I've ever worked on with you or any project, but when you read with us, because obviously we don't record together,
Right.
actors in the same room together, and you directing us, you really performed, which is amazing, because you'll have someone read lines with you sometimes, but you
Yeah.
read the lines, because,
That's a
you're
good point.
an actor.
And-
Well, we didn't have feeders then.
Oh,
So
yeah.
literally the first actor to go set the tone for the whole damn episode. And so yeah, that's where we would, because I always would work closely with Dennis or Sean or whoever was in the booth with me,
Right.
and we would say like this scene is really quiet, and or they're 20 feet away, so I would try to mimic that.
But it is a good point to bring up because I remember we would as sort of like the dev team be in a session with like Julian all day and 3 or 4 different actors would come in and we're just going through like this 10-hour marathon.
Totally.
But yeah, at 6 p.m. like Julian's still like giving it his all,
Yeah,
like reading
God
all the other
damn it,
parts
right.
against it, and we're just like, I was just tired
How
sitting
does he
there.
do that? Yeah. So Rebecca Schweitzer, I just have to mention that
Yeah.
the
That's
answering
her.
machine.
Yeah.
It's such a
a good
small
point. That's
part
great.
of this
And-
first
and
episode.
that's
she
her
just
audition.
Nailed it. And that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's her audition, and it was used in the game. And it was
And-
also used in a trailer, and it was one of the most effective trailers
was.
that I remember.
wow.
Yeah, and it was the
Seeing for
first
this.
time where we took an audition, and then we went back to the agents and said, "Oh, and that's me as the answering machine voice."
Nice.
If we were
I
drinking
really-
right
All
now,
the
we'd
big
do
parts.
shots every
I'm
time
s-
we hear Julian.
I'm still spending those 20s. That was a good one. But yeah, no, Rebecca, and we processed the audition and then went back and said, "You got the role. You never have to come in. You're done."
That's awesome.
That's
we
always
don't
a nice
want to
call.
see you, but
Yeah, exactly.
we're going to use your voice.
Awesome.
I
And
love
we
those.
might send you a check.
I love how the messages too. I just heard them when we were at the office with Kent the other day. just how they progress. Oh, there's some crazy guy at the ER or whatever, and
Yeah.
I love how she just
she
covers
nailed
the
it.
entire
Just goes on for
She's
it.
apocalypse
like, said
in,
it. She
in
really
four
said
It's a
messages.
very
Yes.
efficient zombie apocalypse story in like
Yeah,
3
totally.
lines, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Message 2, left at 11:19 p.m.
Oh my God, finally. I don't know if you tried to reach us. All the calls are getting dropped. They're not letting us leave and aren't telling us anything about Atlanta. Please, please, just leave the city and take Clementine with you back to Murrieta. I've got to get back to the hospital. Please let me know that you're safe.
Message 3, left at 6:51 a.m.
Clementine, baby. If you can hear this, call the police. That's 911. We love you. We love you. We love you. Daddy?
Huh? Hello?
You need to be quiet.
Who is this?
I'm Clementine. This is my house.
Hi, Clementine. I'm Lee.
You're not my daddy.
No, I'm not. How old are you?
8?
And you're all alone?
Yes. I don't know where anybody is. How old are you?
This was a scary. I remember this being. This is an awesome scene.
I
as
think
well.
those parents would have left their kid with a babysitter.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Here she comes. This was a step up cinematically for Telltale as well too. Before we were doing mostly adventure games with Jurassic Park, there was an effort to sort of be more film-like, but it was more actiony than anything. And I felt like this was a big step forward. It was a big challenge, I know, for the department
There
to
she is.
get subtle with it.
Yeah, no, and I just think the visual style too was just so.
Oh. Well, there's the
Oh, there's the
babysitter,
babysitter.
Dave.
Hey, it's Sandra. Oh, good old button mashing.
Oh, God.
Sorry, I stepped on your introduction, but that was
Oh, it's
that was
yeah,
Clementine.
how
There she was.
dare you? That's
fair,
okay.
Oh, and Lee just
I'll
slipped on
be
the blood.
around for a
Lee is
while.
so slippery.
That was a contentious back and forth, I think,
About how
of the
slippery
slipping
it
on
should
the
be.
blood. Yeah,
Well, he's got a bad leg, and
yeah.
it's
Well-
he hasn't seen zombies before.
Here we
You
go.
know, give me
This-
that hammer.
Give me that
Give
hammer.
me that hammer.
I love that their
Quickly,
relationship
child.
starts with her saving him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
really
that's
nice.
cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So Becky Arkovich worked on this babysitter stuff for I don't even know how many months.
A lot.
But it was the first big action scene in the game that was sort of a new style of what we were
Yeah.
doing. So this went through so many iterations and ripped up and redone, and she stuck through it and made an awesome thing.
That's amazing to me.
Good
how-
voiceover there. Good effects.
You
Yeah.
sound a lot like him
I
too.
remember.
when we did the episode, season 4, just hearing some of like who works. Oh, actually, at the playthrough in Oakland for the final episode of season 4, I was sitting next to a woman named Cadet, and she like. I was like, oh, well, what did you do at Telltale? And she specifically worked on, and now I'm going to screw it up. Sorry, Cadet. But I think it was the flashback at Erickson's. Anyways, you may not know about this.
She did all the dream sequences in season 4, Cadet.
Yes, but it's like, it's so, like, you don't, I forget how,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
well, here's your one
Yep.
thing that you're going to be working on, and,
That was the
she
cool
didn't
thing.
know the end
Yeah.
of the game when I'm not going to spoil it for those or whatever.
Sure.
But when something big happened, she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, oh, you didn't know about this? She's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, you
no,
can
I
get-
literally only worked on this scene.
In your own world
That was
sometimes.
the
Yeah.
cool thing about Telltale. There are so many, and so many of them we just knew from bugs or from email, and you'd finally meet someone like, oh my God, that's you? And
You don't look
Yeah.
anything
You don't look like your
what I thought
name.
you'd look like.
but they would spend so much time on
Just one
little
like Becky
piece.
and the babysitter. Wow,
And
that'd be a
there's
great
the hat.
movie. Or
that's the album.
It's great.
yeah. Oh, the hat. Yay.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was looking at the dialogue file for the
Legacy.
scene, and the final version of the babysitter fight that ended up being the one. The folder just says Andrew's new babysitter fight or new baby fight.
Yeah, that's good.
Because there's like a bunch of folders of like iterations of the babysitter fight still in the dialogue
Baby
file.
Fight 17.
man.
And the final one, I guess, must have been Andrew Langley.
Yep.
Language.
Well, he
Yeah.
probably wired it up and,
Yeah.
and helped with the design on it. Yeah. But I remember that's the thing a lot of people don't realize about games is usually when they ship, specifically Telltale games, because it's such a quick episodic schedule, there's so much stuff that is just left over that's cut or things that like
Yeah.
whole scenes that are
In the game,
there, you
yeah.
know. And actually nowadays people have sort of developed tools where they can rip that stuff
I love
out
that.
and that's great.
Oh, look, little Clem.
There's Chet.
So
Chet,
cute.
That's his
Chet.
name. I was, trying
I
to
was gonna
remember.
ask who are these guys again?
That's Sean Green. He's a canon comic character.
Yeah.
Oh,
And Chet has become kind of a meme on the internet because he wants to get home for hot dish.
So Sean's really good at finding random details that people remember like that just make everything feel grounded, which is pretty funny.
It makes him random as a character.
Yeah.
I understand that he wants that hot dish.
It's this motivation.
who voiced those guys? Do you remember, Julian?
Chet was
Sorry to-
Brian Davis.
Oh yeah, cool.
And
I think I remember that he was.
there was some comment. There was like fans made a lot of videos of they took scenes and then they turned them into comedies. And there's one where Lee's rolling around town in the truck, blasting music, and he's like pulling. I can't find it. I tried to find it.
Oh,
for the
yeah,
dog.
I've seen that,
It was
yeah.
so freaking
great.
funny.
What was he playing? Snoop?
No, yeah, all you hear is bass. And then he stops and he gets out of the car.
Well,
Then he
yeah,
gets out of the car and he like goes in the house and then he comes back out.
That's great.
Yeah.
I
And the car's
almost.
vibrating. It was
Yeah, I
awesome.
want to say, well, people have too much time on their hands, but when gems like that pop up, I'm just
Oh, I
so
love it.
grateful for human beings
I know,
who
me
put
too.
the time into
I agree.
doing
It's
those
really cool.
things.
I
You know,
think-
my favorite thing used to be after, at least on in sort of the early days, like season 1 style, where an episode would come out and I would just watch playthroughs that night of like
Yeah.
people live streaming it and just seeing their
Totally,
reactions. It's super fun.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is it. It was this scene, and then he turns off the stereo, gets out.
Are we about to meet Andy St.
I wouldn't even
John?
know
Oh,
how
yeah.
to find that.
Really quick, I'll dive back into a thing from earlier, the first-person prototype. So the origin, of this game, there was an early sort of zombie, we call it the spinning plates prototype.
Yeah.
Maybe even a year before this, like actual production started on this, where it was an attempt to find just a sort of a new way of storytelling and figuring out like what mechanics we could use to get people invested in characters in a scene and like have things going on where they have to make tough choices and there's an imminent threat. So Zombies was a place to start. The relationship with Skybound had been sort of slowly forming, and we got the eventual suggestion of like, oh, maybe this could, like, we could turn this into something that's Walking Dead based, which was super exciting for everybody because we were really stoked to work on it.
That's cool.
But that one, actually, I don't remember if the original prototype was first person, but then once we sort of started in earnest on season 1, kind of just at a high level concept, Carl and Eric Parsons and Sean and Jake worked on a first-person prototype that we use the motor in environment, and you'd basically walk around in first person. Everything happened in first person. There was no third-person cinematics, and it was a whole scene that was playable. And I hope someone has it out there.
I
You
know,
can see it
that'd be
someday, 'cause
really
It was really
interesting
interesting.
to see.
And then that turned into a version where it was sort of half first person, half third person, and there
Got
was a
it.
prototype for that as well,
What
which
was-
actually worked really well too.
What was the one that was in? I know it was the Home Depot office, and it was the they were in like a medical facility or
The morgue.
the morgue. They
Yeah,
were-
that was a test environment. Yeah, there was. I don't know if legally we can say what we used,
Oh, okay.
but there were other characters
Other people.
from other IPs that were just laying around in the
Yeah.
Telltale tool, and so a
Just laying
prototype
around.
was made
Oh, that's
using
cool,
a bunch
'cause
of.
I remember
those
seeing- that was the
characters,
first
Max
time I saw it.
characters and all sorts of stuff.
I was
so-
totally off the mark, by the way. This is not Andy St. John. We're not quite there yet. This is Herschel.
Oh yeah.
So
This
I
is-
just
yeah.
need to correct myself because I know there's someone out there right now going, "Whoa,
Oh,
she's
yeah, yeah.
wrong."
It's been tweeted many times
Yeah.
now.
Thankfully, this isn't
God.
live. Edit
There's
that
a
out.
there's a farm there's a
doesn't know
farm
what's
per
going
episode.
on.
Chuck Carucalis.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
Chuck
Oh,
played
Chuck.
Herschel.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
Herschel, the deepest voice
Oh yeah,
in the
Chuck's
industry.
got
Did
quite
I
the
miss
vocals on him?
the callback where Sean Green introduces you and Herschel asks who you are and
That
he
stuff
calls
did
back your
that
choice?
stuff did happen.
Okay.
I'm actually unsure if I played it correctly.
So the really quick, it's pointing out worth pointing out that early, I guess we probably did miss it early in the development when all these scenes were coming together. The idea of the player making choices in dialogue that were then called back later and made you feel like the game was listening to you wasn't really like no one really knew if it was gonna work or if people are gonna care that much. And
Yeah.
I remember that moment where you first meet Clementine. You, I guess, can say when you.
You can
When
say
get
you're like a
here, you
babysitter
basically
or a
say, yeah, you're a
neighbor.
babysitter or a neighbor or whatever, and then when you get to the scene and you're introduced by Sean as the neighbors or the babysitter or whatever choice you made earlier, and that was I remember it went around the office where everyone was like, "Oh man, I played that scene. It's really cool." And even though it's just a small,
Yeah.
subtle choice, it really made you feel like the game was listening to every small choice you made. And I think that was a really important moment for making people feel like, okay, going forward, like any dialogue choice I make could come back and have
That's cool,
ramifications,
yeah.
which was really cool to see. That was when I remember seeing it and going like, maybe this could work out. It'd
Oh
be really
man.
cool.
The Herschel scene is a
So
really good
cool.
tutorial for that because he catches you in
Yeah.
almost anything you lie about, and he'll call back to it.
I'm like, I want to fangirl out on both of you guys now. Oh my
Nope.
god, I'm actually sitting next to the people who made this game. I mean, it's,
We
it's
just remember stories.
remarkable. I know,
Yeah.
but the stories, I mean, led to like
I know it's funny. Like it's just a day
this
at the office.
amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
And how
Changing
deep in
the
the weeds
industry.
you have to get technically to do these things
Yeah.
that show up on screen and plays. I mean, it just makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
Oh, if I go do this, this happens, and
Yeah.
get on this
Bada
path.
bing.
If I do this,
Yep.
Yeah.
the one thing you guys did screw up though, you could
Uh-oh.
not save Lee.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I remember that. Yeah, that,
Assholes.
The technology just wasn't advanced enough yet.
It's true.
Well, yeah, right. Yes. I think we met the day that you found out, right? Didn't
Yeah,
we meet?
yeah.
We met
man.
You guys
when
had
I
met
was
before
going
then?
in for
Because-
episode
'cause the
3.
nature of
I
video
was
ga-
doing laundry.
Yeah,
which is
the
weird.
nature of video games is that you had a session after
in
me.
Fairfax. I brought my laundry to Fairfax.
Why
That's
not?
funny.
The nature of video games is 99 and 44 is 100% of the time you're working by yourself. So, and since I was a guy that came up from LA, and just about everybody else in the game at that point were San Francisco actors who Telltale had used a lot, and
Yeah.
a really good crew of actors, by the way, many of whom have moved to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
But I kept thinking, wow, I'd really like to meet all these. And I'm walking down the street. I'm going to get lunch.
Yeah.
And she walks up to me. Oh, Dave, and hi. I'm Melissa. I'm Clem. I'm Clem.
Uncanny
And it
Melissa
was
Pretty, it was.
impression.
I know it was spot on.
Yeah,
And
we're
it was
spot on.
instant friendship.
That's great.
Yes. Yeah. This whole season in general with all of us who.
I totally.
And then
Yeah, that's
I don't
great.
think it was that visit, but you came back up and Jory
it was
and
it was
you
the
guys
next visit.
organized
I-
the Thai food outing.
that was fun.
I was
I
I was
I've
so
got pictures.
impressed with the project, the other actors, that I asked to listen. Who
Yeah.
Wozniacki, who are these people?
Let's make an
Can,
effort
can
to
we
meet
can we
each
get
other.
them together and have dinner?
And they all there
Yeah.
was a pilgrimage
Which
to
is rare.
Fairfax.
Yeah.
It's rare. It's
Yeah.
rare that
And,
that
uh,
happens.
But we also, yeah, I mean, some of
And I picked up the check, and nobody ever paid me.
Sorry. I'll buy you a coffee.
I forgot.
How far is Savannah?
Pretty far.
Oh, okay. I love you, baby.
Hey, get up.
I'm itchy.
Well, you slept in a barn, little lady. Lucky you don't have spiders in your hair. But I bet your daddy scared them all away, huh?
I'm not her dad. Name's Lee.
I'm Kenny.
Dad, we're in the middle of a fence. There's a tractor and everything.
We better get going, or we won't hear the end of it. That's my boy, Ken Jr. We call him Duck, though.
Why do parents name their kids Duck?
We're from Fort Lauderdale. We were on our way back before things up and went
This
bananas.
is where we introduced Sissy Jones.
Katya.
Katya. And I was on a panel with her at a voiceover conference talking about video games, and she revealed that this was the first video game
Yeah.
she had ever done.
And she
Wow.
she didn't tell me right away. She told me months later, maybe even years later.
Her first gig, right?
Yeah.
I think it was like her first gig out of
It was.
out of the gates.
And
she's
Wow.
been
she was
tearing it up ever
Yeah,
since.
know.
she's
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 awesome.
a force to be reckoned with.
A boss.
Yeah.
wow.
And it's tricky because I remember getting the auditions for Katya, and I didn't read for Katya because it was like Danish.
Yeah,
and I was
screw
like,
this.
"What?
I'm not doing
It
that.
would
That's
sound,
what
which
we
I
have
would
Katya.
totally offend. I don't even know what that is. How do you do like this?
Wow.
Finesse this.
Especially when you haven't done you have never been in a studio.
Yeah, she nailed it.
Also, Kenny
First
here,
grade.
Gavin Hammond, hanging
Kenny?
out in the corner fixing a truck.
Oh, yeah.
In his,
Kenny.
in his
First
ele-
introduction.
Oh,
in his
there's
elements.
Duck.
Awesome. Yeah.
We'll be talking with Kenny.
Lee's
Yeah, he'll
best
be here
friend,
later.
worst enemy at the same time.
Duck is also in his element, pretending to do something.
And Duck is
Well, how's he gonna bounce?
Duck is Max Kaufman, Ryan Kaufman's son.
Yep.
And
funny.
for a little while, it was my son, and then
Oh,
the
I
Battle
know
of the
that.
Sons, and he,
Oh man.
you
But your
won
kid
this
was
time.
about Duck's age at that
Ryan.
time. Too.
Yeah, they both were the
Yeah,
same
now
age.
he's like an adult. It's crazy. I'm telling you. What a difference 7 years makes.
I know, totally. Wow,
He's
they're
going off to
all grown up.
college. Yeah. We'll just chop this
I'm
wood
just
here.
gonna saw this.
I guess I'm sawing now.
Might as well do some work.
Look useful.
Is it interactive song?
It is not.
Okay.
Not
good.
so far.
I feel like
A lot
there
of
was
that hammering. It looked really
the weird
great.
thing about all of this stuff is there's definitely coming from a place where we were making adventure games mostly before, and it was a lot of puzzle solving. Going into this, where it was a more cinematic focused game, there was always attempts to find interactivity anywhere you could. So there, I feel
Right.
like there's lots of these moments which at some point were probably wired up as like button presses
Totally.
until we got
Make
it in
them
there
saw.
and then went, nah, why would you saw? This is not fun. But who
Oh,
knows
they're
if this
building
is
a
one of
fence,
those, but
though.
yeah.
Got to keep those
How to
zombies out.
secure the.
I can
Oh.
totally see how in some Telltale titles that this would just be a button mash here.
Exactly, yeah.
There was always stuff like that.
to saw.
Especially in some of the later Telltale games, there's like this cutscene just goes on forever. We got to put a button press in somewhere, right? Make them wiggle the stick for a second.
He's
Wiggle a
practicing
stick.
up for that arm later on.
Yeah. Oh, that arm
Those
stuff is so
those
horrific.
little Sean, she'll remember this. That was that. Did that start in Walking Dead?
It did. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a thing that I think came pretty late in the process, actually.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, again, like the development time on this season, like it was really rough working on
Yeah.
this game. Ultimately paid off in a great way and that it
Right.
came out as something really cool. But Telltale as a company was sort of trying to find like what's the next sort of version of a sort of cinematic interactive dialogue game we can do. And so a lot of things were tried on, especially this episode was sort of a test ground.
First
so-
episode, of course.
Yeah, I know, right?
It feels very experimental in a lot of ways.
It was.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff that works and there's a lot of stuff that then we did and worked here and didn't
And
do
I
later.
think this was the only one where the script was ready days before I got there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Sometimes those scripts were coming in 20 minutes before.
Being written.
Or
Yeah.
no.
This
There were
session.
times where Sean would be like, "Okay,
Yeah.
just start on this scene," and then he
Yep.
would go in the next room, and then he'd
Finish
come
some stuff
back.
up,
I've
yeah.
got it.
Wow.
Pierre was
Yeah.
always good at doing that too.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's
it's,
always at least one person with their head
Yeah, totally.
head buried in the laptop.
Or I remember
in-
going into the studio with times where we're like, we haven't figured this scene out yet.
Right,
We're gonna
totally.
record a bunch of things,
get 'em
and
all.
then we'll figure it out in
And
the
we'll
edit,
see
kind
you,
of.
or we'll see you next week, probably.
Well, we did that. I guess we can
Mostly
talk
in later
about
games.
And hence the pickups.
pickups.
Yeah,
Right.
lots of
it. I'm not
pickups.
sure if that was Jolene season 2 or was that?
She was episode 2 of season 1.
Okay, so then I can talk about it. So yeah, Sissy. I feel like it was 400 days, but Mark Darren was season 2, right?
Episode 2
Episode
of season.
2.
I meant episode 2.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where
Yes.
I need your help because
Yes.
my brain
Yeah,
is
yeah,
That's
erased.
fair. That's
Sorry.
no worries.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
I mean, you only turned
Episode
21 once.
2.
Yeah,
But,
Mark and I
um,
worked on that together for a long
Okay,
time.
so
Yeah.
we did Sissy was pregnant, and we did, we recorded her stuff, and in true Telltale fashion, you test it, and we'd come back and have pickups, and Sissy calls me one day, and she says, I'm really pregnant, and so if you guys are going to need anything, I'm going to be kind of offline for a little while. So I called Mark Darren and told him the story, and he said, all right, I'll go write some stuff, and he
Let me get on that.
he wrote a bunch of stuff that may be useful, and she went to a studio in LA. We did a remote session with her. She read through it all, and her last line was, "You fucking junkie," and then she said, "Okay, you need anything else?" And we were all good, and then she went to the hospital from the studio.
Wow.
So
Gave
her
birth.
her last professionally spoken line as a non-mother was
Yeah.
"You fucking junkie." No, but we all just we spent, especially on this project where the characters were recurring, and you're dealing with so many different emotions, and in some case dying or watching people die, and I don't know. All of us actors, all of the actors and me and a lot of the Telltale guys, we hang out.
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
we're still,
that's
for sure.
another.
it was like,
getting to know the folks that
Yeah.
when you work on a game, you usually meet the director, you meet a couple of the producers or whoever
Yeah.
happens to be in the session. But
we met everyone.
we became we met everyone. We made it a point to meet
Yeah,
everyone. It
and-
wasn't just
Yeah.
who
And
wrote
you
this,
guys
who
would
cares? It
come
was like, I
by-
need to meet this person.
For sure, and for a while I was we called it Wine Fridays, and it would just be in my apartment.
Oh, Wine
and we would just
Fridays.
have a ton of developers over, and we would just hang out and play
I
video
got
games and
Skyped
drink.
into a couple of those.
I
Oh,
think
that's
you
awesome.
did, yeah.
That's so
And,
great.
but yeah, we would invite the actors out, and you guys would all come out and get to sort of meet everybody who was working on the
Totally,
game, and they were
totally.
starstruck to meet you guys. It was just a fun.
It was so
And from the actor's point of view, what was one of the things that was interesting when the first episode came out, and the game media started writing really wonderful articles about it. They mentioned that the acting was good, but they didn't mention any actors.
right.
And I remember, wait a minute,
I'm one of those.
what the
actors.
hell?
Damn it.
And
You just leave a comment in the comment
And
section. That's me.
Lovely.
I wrote a response to, I forget which magazine and which writer, but I said, hey, I'm Dave Fennell. I play Lee Everett. And I noticed you mentioned how good the acting was, but you didn't mention any of the actors, and there was so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so. And after that, and I said, don't you? And he was like, oh, wow, no, great, love it.
Right.
Oh, yeah, well, happy to
I
mention
never
the
knew.
actor. That's exactly it. I said, I never knew.
Totally forgot Lee just punches that zombie. He just punched it right in the head. He had no greater plan.
punk.
Because Lee was a
Taking
badass.
risks. Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh no.
Wow, Clem was affected by that.
Well,
This is a cool comic
We're
time
gonna
too.
have to
This is the
leave
start
the
of him
farm.
putting of Herschel putting the walkers in the barn, right?
dang it.
Yeah.
That was like
yeah.
an intentional call
that's
into what happens in the comic.
That was a great thing in the TV show, was when that walker fell in the well, and they were lifting him out, and he tore in half.
Oh, the
And I was like,
That is a
oh
really
my
tremendous
the
visual effects.
decomposed.
terrible. Yeah, the
wasabi
water's gonna
walker.
taste horrible.
No, I know, right? Well, drink the water. But yeah, that's
Ah, Kenny.
Kenny
I just call it zombie
with him.
juice then.
zombie.
Right. We should have marketed that.
I think there's a Walking Dead wine
Telltale
called The Walking
zombie
Red.
juice.
Well, there is. It's Skybound's actually,
Yeah.
Skybound
and it's actually quite
zombie
good.
Juice.
Excellent.
When you want to feel like a zombie.
I thought I didn't
Look
have
at
to make a
Katya.
choice.
She's just like, whatever.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, weirdly this scene too. It was so early on, and a lot of it is talking before this action moment. And there's a lot of questions when doing playtests and just developers playing through of like, is this too much narrative and character and not
Right.
enough interactivity? And so it was great that this scene ended up working really well, and I think it sort of allowed us later on to feel more confident going forward.